All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. In case you don't know, my name is Steve Justice. I'm the director of Launch Fayette. And this is part of our short course series that we're putting on. Between January and June, we're going to have a minimum of 12 short courses. We also have our fast track entrepreneurship training program. We host things like Startup Fayette, all those different things. Just keep going back to the website, because between January and June, I think I added it up, we're going to have over 40 different learning activities here.
Wow.
And that's what we do here at Launch Fayette. We are here to help grow businesses in Fayette County. It's that simple. So we do that by providing education and training opportunities for people who become members of Launch Fayette. We provide mentorship. We have entrepreneurs in residence, 6 of those right now. And they're very experienced entrepreneurs that we work with the companies, mentor you, connect you with resources to help grow your company. And we have space. So if you're a company that needs an office, needs a pod, just needs meeting space, members can use these meeting spaces to run their business. And we have a number of companies that are running their businesses out of here. So just get a brochure and learn more about us. We have a lot of different levels of membership and things like that. But thank you for being here. The topic for today, we want you to remember, is strategic planning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put each of you on the spot. Thank you. All right. Plus, now that gives me a say, okay, am I going to meet the expectations of these folks today with this class? I'm like, oh, they want to learn this. I think we're going to touch on things that will help all of you from what you said. So we're going to start with Ben Franklin. You can never go wrong starting with a quote from Benjamin Franklin. Now, there's probably a lot of quotes that are, attributed to him that really weren't his, but hey, I go with Wikipedia and the other things right. So according to all the sources, it was Ben Franklin that had said, "Those who fail to plan, plan to fail." So we've heard that. So that's Ben Franklin. So really, a good strategic plan, provides this framework. It's really that. It's a framework around which you can plan your efforts to maximize success. And it's very important because every successful organization, most of them, I don't say every, but most, have a good strategic plan that they pull out and they look at. And I won't talk about this through the day, but I want to emphasize this at the beginning. A strategic plan is not something you do, you put on the shelf, and then if 3, 4, 5 years later you pull it out and you go, oh yeah, that was our strategic plan. You missed the point if you did that. A strategic plan is something you should be looking at in your organization quarterly. At the minimum, every 6 months. Because in the heat of battle, in the heat of running your business, of running your organization, you can lose your direction a little bit because you're responding to the environment around you, the things that are going on. And it's very good. I found it in my professional life, very good. They'll pull that plan out every quarter or so and say, okay, here was the plan. Am I doing that? That's the first question. Are we doing those things? The answer is yes. Great. Now, how are we doing? The question is no. Why not? Is it that we had a bad strategic plan, the environment's changed? Does things like that happen? Strategic plans do have to be living documents. If the environment changed, let's say in 2019, you created a strategic plan in December of 2019. By March 2020, that strategic plan was blown out of the water.
Yes.
Right? That was gone. Because the environment changed. So it behooves you to look at your strategic plan quarterly, say, are we doing these things? Yes, no, if no, why not? Has the environment changed? Do we need to update the plan? Or did we simply lose focus? Did we do the thing, like Dr. Squirrel, the bright shiny object that gets in our heads? Ooh, there's money over here, or there's this. The bright shiny objects, or just the stress of the everyday operations can veer you off of your plan. So it's good to always be able to come back to that plan and be able to say, are we doing these things? And it can help you refocus. And also, when you do your annual operational plan, it should be driven by your strategic plan. And we'll talk about that more toward the end. So I kind of lays it out. And we're informal here, this is not a big giant group. So as you have questions along the way, go, hey, what about? So make sure to do that. Okay, so it's a 4-step process. It starts with the vision and the mission. We start there because, of course, if you don't get that right, the rest of it, well, you know, it fails because of that. The guiding principles that guide your organization. So we're going to spend about the first 45 minutes to an hour, 45 minutes on that, because we want to get that right. Then once you've set those vision and mission, you want to look at, what are your goals? The goals. The ends you wish to achieve. Or the ends to achieve the mission. Hey, I want to do this. Well, then here's these goals I have to accomplish along the way to meet that mission. Strategies is the playbook. I'll use a football analogy. I'm a guy, right? You know, but coaches go into a game with a playbook. So they call the plays from that book. So if you think about it, strategy are those as that playbook. Tactics are the actual plays you call during the game that are situational, based upon the moment, to achieve your goals. So I use that as everybody seems to understand the football analogy. So we're going to spend roughly about a third of our time on vision mission, then we'll talk about goals, strategies, and hit a little bit on the tactics side of it. What I hope you go away from today with is this framework, which I've used in big corporations. When I had my own companies as a consulting company, had multiple people working in it. We would be hired by companies, corporations, to come in and do a 2 to 3 day session with them of helping them to develop their strategic plan and be able to do this. So this was developed through that, and I've sort of shrunk it down for a short class, but the framework works. It's been used many, many times in a small business and a big business. And so is it the only framework? Absolutely not. There's a lot of different ones, but this one is just one that I know has worked in many companies. So you're going to walk away today with that knowledge and some materials and things like that, so you can use this framework moving forward, be able to do that.
Are we going to have time in this session to do these things for our business?
Yes, a little bit. We're going to do kind of a first round on each one.
Okay.
So you get kind of get a sense of how to do this. So it's a very, you know, I'm an engineer by trade, so I look at it from the hierarchical point of view, that you have your vision and mission at the top, you have a set of goals underneath, the strategy underneath that, and tactics. You notice like the strategy in the middle, you could have a strategy that addresses multiple goals. And that, in reality, that happens a lot. So you're trying to develop a good marketing plan. Well, that good marketing plan may actually contribute to multiple goals that you have, for example. So there's not always a one-to-one on this once you get goals and below. You can have tactics, and I didn't want to make the drawing too messy, but you can have tactics that address multiple strategies. So it's just a way of putting this down on paper or electronically so that you have a plan and you can read it and you can see it. So we talk about the vision statement. It's critical to define your organization. You know, what do you do? What do you do as an organization? And it's not just what you do today, but what are you going to do in the future? Because you want to make sure that you have a vision and mission statement that encompasses, gives you a chance to grow, be able to do those things. So it consists of, normally, of 3 elements: a purpose statement, a business statement, and a value statement. So what do I mean by that? So the purpose statement. Why does your organization exist? Now some people, I'll have in class like, oh, we're here to make money. I'm like, well, that's not exactly a great marketing campaign, you know, out there for your customers. Well, we're here to make money. Now, of course, making money is kind of a byproduct, I argue. If you have a purpose and you make money from it, that is a result. But if you're only, you know, I just want to make money, it makes it kind of hard to have a strong organization. because you'll do anything for a buck, right? So, purpose statement. Why does your organization exist? What do you want to do with the world, right? What is the ultimate result of your work? We talk about a change in status. You're wanting to change the world, or maybe just that piece of the world that's right around you, right? We say we change the world, everybody says, oh, no, I can't change the world. You're changing this piece of the world in your community. So what are you doing to do that? What do you want to do? And usually it comes with, a word that says, hey, I want to increase, decrease, prevent, or eliminate something. Or maybe a combination thereof. I'm wanting to do something. And you're identifying the problem or the condition to be changed, the need you're feeling, be it education, right? You're an educational institution. That's the core of what you're doing. You've identified your problem statement in terms of kitchen and being able to service other entrepreneurs and doing those things, for example. So in the purpose statement, we don't want to talk about the how. We want to concentrate on the outcomes. How is the world going to change because of what you're doing? All right. So let's keep going. You're going to notice we're going to have a lot of time for discussion when we get into it. The business statement. Now this is what you're doing as a business. You said, we want to change the world. We want to change the world. You outline what you're going to do specifically in your company to do this. There's a lot of different things you could do. What activity are we going to do to accomplish our purpose? For example, to provide by, through, and I love the example, to eliminate homelessness by providing job training to homeless individuals. Now, I think there's a lot of other things you could have said with that first few words. To eliminate homelessness, those first three words, right? What are other things that people could have said other than providing job training to homeless individuals? Is there anything else you could do to help eliminate homelessness? Provide free housing. Right? Homeless shelters. Yeah, there's a lot of things, but in this one, you got specific. You said, we're going to tackle this eliminate homelessness issue by providing job training to homeless individuals. So you've started to narrow down your scope. Because sometimes I'll see companies that their business statement is, we're going to do everything for everybody. And you can imagine that's a very hard thing to get your hands around. So you have to narrow it down to what specifically are we going to do, but at a high level. And this one's very important. A lot of folks will say, we're going to do this and this and this. And when they put 2 or 3 things in there, I go, okay. Are all 2 or 3 of those things, all those things equally important? Or is one more important and the others are kind of sub ideas? Because sometimes you'll see them come, well, we're going to do this and this and this. Are you equally committed to all 3 of those things? The answer is usually no. There's usually one thing as the core of what you want to do. And I recommend that people focus on that. Those other things can actually become goals or strategies along the way to help you do that. The value statement. This is important because this is something that speaks both outwardly and inwardly for your organization. The common beliefs that you put into practice in your organization, which guide your organization. And those of you who have worked at larger organizations, right, you've been there, hopefully you haven't had this experience, but some of you probably have, where you're in an organization where it's clear there's not common values that everyone adheres to in the organization. So it makes it hard for everybody to move in the same direction. So this is the part of creating that culture in your organization that these are our core values. These are the things that we believe in. that we're going to do. It guides everybody in your organization. And you want everyone to align to it. I always tell college students when I'm talking to them, when they are interviewing or after they've actually hired onto a company, go find their strategic plan. Read it. Go look at what their vision and mission is, what their values are. Make sure they're going in a direction you want to go. They might not. You know, they may be going over here. Your goal, your personal vision is you want to be over here. Well, it's better to find that out very early on. And a lot of corporations, they have a sanitized version of their strategic plan that's publicly available. Through their filings, things like that. So it's always good to go check that out, because the vision statement and the value statement tell you what do they hold dear. And this is something you can buy into and be an integral part of. Right? And as you as a leader in your organization, you want to make sure you're transmitting that clearly to the people in the company or the organization. Example at the bottom. Example, a commitment to excellent services, innovation, diversity, creativity, honesty, integrity. Now make sure you don't make just a menu of things. It has to be the things you truly believe in and you want reflected in your organization. So let's bring it all together. And this is one that I love. I think this is one of the best vision statements I've seen. It's still very good after 20 years of teaching it. I love this, from the YMCA of San Francisco. Here's their thing. The YMCA of San Francisco, based in Judeo-Christian heritage, that's their values, seeks to enhance the lives of all people, that's their purpose, through programs designed to develop spirit, mind, and body business. Do you understand what they're about at this point? Everybody's looking down at their paper. Nod? Do you get what the YMCA of San Francisco is about?
Yeah.
Do you think that's good?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Because it embodies all three things. I see a lot of them that they'll have maybe the values, they'll have the business, they'll be missing a purpose. I'll see a lot of them that have two of the three elements. This is a good one that has all three elements. So, in addition to the elements above, we talk about the following questions that you ask yourself. What is the problem or need that your organization is trying to address? Especially for nonprofits, especially for educational organizations. For profits too, because the need is a customer need, right? Because you want customers to buy your service or your product, so you're having to fill their customer need. So what is the customer need you're filling there? What makes your organization unique? When you talk about marketing and marketing. How's your organization uniquely addressing those issues? And who are the beneficiaries of your work? Are you doing this for everybody? Or is it, a certain group based upon, their geography, the type of sector they're in? People have, let's say if you're doing folks with people that have physical limitations, things like that. Who are you doing it for? And you can add those into your vision statement. I'm going to know to do that. The other thing that I've seen in companies is they'll make a vision statement that really addresses where they are today. But if you look at the life cycle, and this is more from an engineering point of view, and I apologize for that, but that's my background. If you look at the life cycle of services or products, you start with an idea. You develop that idea. You demonstrate it, make sure it works, right? You produce it and deploy it. You operate it and support it. And at some point you retire it. That's a whole life cycle. Your organization may be operating in one or only two of these boxes. You may not be, let's say you're a distributor. You're really talking about the operations and support. You don't produce it necessarily, you're just distributing it to folks. Or you may be a concept shop. You come up with ideas. And all the marketing's a lot in the concept side, in the development side, and developing the system, right? And then the company, then your customer handles a lot of the sales and how they're really implementing the marketing and how to do that, right? What you want to do is make sure that you're not arbitrarily limiting yourself to one box. There are a lot of companies that they'll start out by designing things, then finally they want to get into manufacturing it, first operating it, maintaining it. A great example I'll use is Delta Airlines. We think of them as an airline. They fly the airplanes and move people all over the world. So that's always important. So they have to keep those airplanes 15, 20, 30
But the
years.
European airlines are so modern and up to date, so maybe you keep the airplane, but maybe within that building, like the analogy you gave with the school, you have to do things on the inside to keep up with the times.
The Europeans are more subsidized than we are in America,
Yeah.
which makes a difference. So anyway, that little side point. All right. So I love this picture. This is a kid with ambition. I found this, I said, this is the perfect picture for this. To make sure your vision is big enough to allow you to grow your organization. But I love that kid. That's one sick kid later, but okay. All right, so you talked about activities. So what we're going to do, I'm going to hand these out. A couple times. Okay. In the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and start us back up. But remember, most of this work you'll do after this class. Cindy, I'm going to pick on you this time.
And it may be a little long, but a private Christian school strives to provide quality, affordable education while supporting families through programs to raise the next generation for Christ.
Everyone clear? Do you understand what they're about?
Yes, that's very clear.
Excellent.
Very clear.
She had her purpose, she had her values, she had her business. Excellent.
All right, take a shot at it. Values you and your personal growth, and by enhancing your quality of life and providing herbal teas and mindful tea blending classes to bring awareness to your mind, body, and spirit.
Do you understand what they're about?
That's a little better?
Yeah.
Keep working on it.
It'll get better the second time. Okay. Anyone else want to share? I'll pick on marketing here.
So it's a trusted agency for purpose-driven brands to provide business owners with clarity, growth, and growing confidence through strategy, creativity, and branding. I
Okay.
can word it a little better. So.
Yeah. It's a first up, but you see, so what you've seen through the process here, this was a framework to take you through to help you think about this. And this is not the end point. All of you can take this away and share this with other people that you're working with on your business or in the school. I did mention, and this is specifically for you, that it is really instructive when you take the leadership of a larger organization and you go through this process with them. And you have them go through, circle the words, fill out this form, and then you just share it. And I swear, I mean, I'll have, the C-level and the high-level executives in the company, and every one of them will be different. I've walked into companies where they're very different, and they're all shocked. They're shocked that they don't think the same way about this. And it takes a lot of it. This is why I'm taking more time up front on this piece, because if you don't get this right, it kind of, it colors everything comes after it. But when you go into a room, and these guys have been in business, they've got a successful business, and they do this, and they're on totally different pages, literally. That is a shock to them. This would be very interesting for your leadership team to do. You might be closer together, but you might not be shocked so much. But it's been very interesting when you find that. Sometimes you walk in, they're all on the same page, sometimes they're not. And when they're not, that takes a lot more time to get, okay, what do you really mean? But it's very instructive, so the framework works for that. If you have a partner in your business, all those things, you can work with your partner and make sure you're both on the same page. Because when you're starting a business, we all know, it's very important that the partners really are on the same page and have the same expectations. Because if you don't, guess what? That partnership will sour. Because you think you're on the same page, but you're not. Any final questions? Because we're going to end this section, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to go on. Yes, ma'am?
Could this work for like onboarding a client that has like a new business too?
Yes.
If you're trying to get like a better understanding of
Yeah,
what
because
it
you
is.
want to, if you want to market them, you need to know what their values, their purpose, and their business is.
Because I usually do like a questionnaire, but sometimes, that's why I like to really communicate with my clients and like partner with them, with their business. But sometimes it gets like confusion in between.
Yeah, it's hard for you to pull out of them, what are you really about? Because you have to know their story
Right,
to be able to market them. Because you are a storyteller.
right.
You just give them different ways to tell that story. Exactly. Yeah, you could take a version of this and say, hey, would you circle these words for me?
Yeah.
Describe your business. Hey, write down your values, your purpose, and your business. And that would help, because maybe they haven't gone through a strategic
Right,
planning
and
exercise.
most of the time, like they haven't even gone through it.
Yeah, that would be useful. Okay, with that, we're going to take a 10-minute break. We're going to come back, and we're talking about goals. We're going to go a little faster now. Okay. But this one's the hard one for people. So 10 minutes.
Yes.
All right, we're going to reconvene here, and we're going to talk about goals. So we're talking about your goal statements. And if you remember the hierarchy, you have your vision and your mission. Next thing down is your goals. So let's talk about goals. Those are the statements that define some activity that you can measure. That's the key point, that you can measure. Remember you hear about SMART goals, right? M, measurable, attainable, all those different things that make the vision and the mission statement a reality. You may hear these referred to as strategic goals. And people will say annual goals and strategic goals. But we're talking about those high-level goals that you talk about. And I break them down a little differently than a lot of folks in terms of everybody gets this one right. What do you want that you don't have? That's the easiest thing for people to do. I want to do this. You want to achieve this. That's easy. Everybody's can do that, but they forget the other three. What do you want to keep that you already have? You have good things going on in your organizations. You don't want to discard them along the way of achieving other things. So you want to preserve those good things. But you have to say that. It has to be part of your plan, right? What don't you have that you don't want? That's important. Sometimes it's easier to say what you don't want than what you want. Hey, I don't want debt. I don't, in your organization. So you have to say, what are the things we want to avoid? And the one that's even harder, what do we have that we don't want? We want to eliminate that. So goal statements cover all of those areas. So I use the goals grid. It's simple, it's easy, it prompts us. It's simply, do we have it? Yes or no? Do we want it? Yes or no? Well, the easy one is, do we want it? Yes. Do we have it? Yes. We want to preserve that. Do we have it? Yes. Do we have it? No. That's something we want to achieve. So goal setting you will have things in each area. If you don't, you maybe haven't thought it through quite enough. And I have some examples for that. So goals will not be one-dimensional. They can address different parts of that goal grid and be able to do that. You know, like this example, reduce the reject rate from 25% to less than 10% if you're a manufacturing organization. Well, there's lots of different ways, strategies you can use to do that, and you can get in trouble because you've only defined it as the achieve. I want to, well, in this case, I want to eliminate or achieve this improved reject rate. Well, there's lots of ways to do that. I could double the number of inspectors. I've doubled my labor costs at that point. Will that really help my business in the end? Don't know, right? So I want to think about that. The essence of this objective is getting rid of something that exists but is not wanted. Hey, I have a high reject rate, I want to lower it. But at what impact to the company? So if we go to the next step, I make a condition on it. Without increasing the cost of operation. I want to eliminate something, but I don't want to increase my costs. I want to avoid that, right? So the new one reads, reduce the reject rate from 25% to less than 10% without increasing the cost of the operation. That is much more clear to your employees. You tell them, I want to do this, I want to eliminate this, but I want to avoid increased costs while doing it. That's a more rounded objective. It's clear. It tells the people in your company what you really want to do. It has both eliminate and preserve. And the biggest thing in looking at goals is that when you talk about them, is that goals don't sit in isolation. Goals can actually impact each other when you talk about this. So we want to double the amount of sales this next year. We want to double our sales over a 5-year period. Let's say that's a strategic goal. But you have to think about what are the consequences of that. I may have to double my workforce. I may have to increase my marketing. I'm going to incur all kinds of other costs along the way. So you have to think about the things that you have. You have a small business. You like your small business feel. You may say, hey, I'm going to double our sales over the next 5 years. But I want to keep our small business feel. I want to keep this family feel that we have in our company as we grow. That more fully defines a goal. So you have to think about, again, going back to your mission and vision statements of what were your values, what was your purpose. You don't want to lose your values along the way. If Price, I remember that one. Price was one of her words. They could add all sorts of things at the school, but if they double the price, guess what? It's going to impact the organization negatively. You have to look at the goal and look at those unintended consequences and craft it in a way that fully captures the intentions that you have. And this one's kind of short because we're going to do a little workbook here. I love this sign. This is a real sign. This is not made up. This is not Facebook. This is not AI. This is a real sign.
We need that today.
Don't let your worries kill you. Let the church help. You've seen signs like this, right?
Yeah.
Your goal has to be clear.
Very
So it
clear.
defines your true intentions. I'm not sure everybody understood what their intentions were here. Right? Before we go to the questions, comments on this. You're just scratching. So in your business, you have to think about these goals, because again, these are strategic goals. And at the beginning, I said usually 5 years. Some organizations nowadays only do 3-year goals, because the last, let's say,
Post-COVID.
well, from 19 to now, it's been kind of a crazy time. So a lot of organizations, I'm on a national organization, we're dropping to a 3-year window for our strategic planning. Because we're impacted by administration changes and stuff like that as well. Which, boy, that's been, a big change, right? When you go from one administration to another, COVID, all those different things. So sometimes the window has shrunk, but it's usually 3 to 5 years is the norm for this. So when you think about your goals, you're thinking about what I want to achieve, avoid, eliminate, or avoid over the next 3 to 5 years. Strategic goals up here, but fits within your vision and your mission. So, in the packet I gave that to you, you have the next workbook. And so, we're going to do one goal. So I want you to think about it. So at the top you write, as simply as possible, describe a strategic goal for your organization. All right? And then below, we're going to talk about what goal categories are addressed by this goal. You tell us which box you think it fits in. It can fit in more than one, depending on how you describe it. Remember the example I said. Reduce the reject rate, eliminate, without increasing the cost of operation, avoid. How does this goal statement fulfill the mission statement for the company? It all has to tie back, because you have to say, if you can't tie it back to your vision statement for the company, is it really a goal you should be going after? Right? How will this goal be measured? Hey, remember, SMART, everybody loves the SMART goals. How do you know you've accomplished the goal? What is going to be the key measure of merit? Does the statement above capture the necessary metrics? If not, what words should be added to the statement? If you're having a hard time coming up with a measurement, that means maybe you should go back to your goal. Remember our thing, 25% to 10% rejection rate. I know what my measurement is. It's in the goal. Without increasing the cost of production. I know that gives me my measurements in the goal itself. What are the potential unintended impacts of this goal? You have to think through that. And then finally, what words should be avoided? What words should be added to avoid undesired consequences? Hey, we're going to double the size of our company, but we don't want to lose the family feel. I just use that as an example. But for you. So start out with the initial goal statement. Then go through and fill in this section. Don't fill in the last part. We're going to talk about it. And then we're going to give you a chance to revise it. All right? Questions? As you're going through it, feel free. You don't have to sit there and, hey, Steve, I have a question. I'm at this point. Okay, so just go. We're going to do one goal, just to show you how the process works. Almost there. Okay, we're going to go. All right, I'm going to pick on Maria. Because we already had the conversation and people heard it. So kind of tell us what your goal was.
So to obtain clients that will give me national exposure and increase my sales by 25% each year.
25% each year, okay, good. All right, so what quadrant is that?
It's achieve.
Achieve, okay. And how does that goal fulfill your mission statement for your company? So, where's your form? Your vision, mission statement. So how does it address that?
It doesn't, because, well, oh wow, that's a big difference. Because my mission statement says at Everglow, our mission is to build connections by fueling our community. I'm so small there. By fueling our community with fresh, healthy, clean, nutritious superfoods. That's, of course, a healthier lifestyle. So,
Okay. So what could you do to modify your goal statement to address some of that? In other words, your goal is to obtain more clients, to,
I said on a national level, to gain national exposure,
so national's maybe not the right, but just obtain more clients.
to give me more exposure maybe.
Get more exposure to whom? Who you're talking about in your vision,
Talking about my community.
in your community.
But that's part of my community, one of the places I want to capture. It's only 15 minutes away
Is
from.
that your goal? You want to get more, exposure in your community
Yes.
through getting more clients. All right. And what's the other part of your goal statement? So you want to affect more people in the community. The way you do that, you have, your goal is, I got to get clients to do that,
Yes.
right? Because you're not a nonprofit.
Right.
Right. What else in your goal statement?
Here, to.
Well, I'm talking about, no, go back to your
in the vision. So at Everbowl, our mission is to build connections by fueling our community with fresh, clean, and nutrient-rich superfoods that supports healthier lifestyles.
Okay. So your goal is to get more clients so that you can provide that to the community. You want to provide those superfoods to the community.
Okay.
So that's your focus, but that's your goal. If you want to increase your you want to increase that 25% of sales is 25% sales of your superfood. Right, so think about that. Okay, so how will this goal be measured? You kind of already have something in there.
So I said I wanted to increase 25% each year annually, just each year I want to grow by 25%.
Okay, I will play a devil's advocate here. If you're growing 25% per year, but it's only through one customer, would you be happy?
That's not realistic.
Oh, yeah, it is. Happens all the time.
Yeah, you can get one big client, you're right. No, because it's not. I want to affect many, not just one customer. So, wow.
So see, that's an unintended impact of the way you've written the goal. Is that, because you haven't said, I want to do it through multiple customers, it can be through one customer. That's why I said clients. Because the unintended consequence could be, I'll meet my goal, I'll do it with one customer, and then in 5 years, 3 years from now, when I lose that customer, what happens to my company?
Yes.
That's an unintended consequence, because you didn't diversify. So maybe that's that word diversify, a diversified set of clients. Right? Okay, I picked on you enough, I'm gonna pick on you.
Yeah.
All right, tell us your
I know,
goal, your big,
I know, I was kind of struggling.
your big audacious goal.
Well, like I said, part of my job is raising funds over and above tuition, so, to keep it lower, so I put, to raise what was I saying? To secure donations above tuition to keep tuition low and affordable for families.
Okay, so you're wanting to, raise donations to keep tuition affordable for families. Okay. That's an achieve. Okay. And how does that statement fulfill your vision mission?
Say again?
How does that goal statement fulfill your vision?
Providing affordable Christian education.
So the key is affordable.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And how will you measure this?
Well, that's one thing I was struggling. I know part of it is, it's kind of a combination. Are we bringing in enough students to bring in the tuition? And then part of my job is to have that over and above fundraising. So we're kind of looking at our enrollment numbers and then plus who has given to the school as strategic partners. and donors.
Okay. So there's probably a corollary goal, or maybe within your goal. Does your organization have a goal to increase the number of students?
Probably, yeah, at least in the high school realm, yes.
Okay, so if you have a goal to increase the number of students,
Mhm.
you could say to support the increase of the number of students or something like that, right? Because you recognize there's another goal. We want to increase our student population by whatever it is, right? But that's a goal. You have a complementary goal to that. So if you're going to increase the number of students, you want to increase the amount of scholarship
Exactly, yeah.
for those students. So the question is there then a goal in there of, we want 10%, 20%, 50%, a certain number of students to be able to receive scholarships to support this goal of increased student body. And then that would become a measurement. There's two ways you could measure yours probably, just in sheer dollars. But I'm not sure that one's the right measurement for you, because if you go back to your vision mission statement, you want to impact individuals. So your measurement should be more individual based. We're going to give scholarships to X number of students. X number of students are able to receive scholarships to the school. That would be a measurement that would fit your values and goals.
Good, okay.
And also, you guys always remember, your goals are something that set your marketing. So what's easier to raise money? Hey, just give us a check. Or, hey, your check will affect this many students. Which one's more effective?
Yeah, that was more.
The impacts.
Right. Okay. We already did, Justice, does the statement above capture necessary amendment? What are the potential unintended impacts of this goal, if any, that you've thought of?
Unintended, that's where I was kind of struggling a little bit. Yeah, that one I didn't get.
Okay, let's decompose that. If you're increasing, well, your goal, your particular goal would work whether you're increasing the number of students or not.
Okay.
You can simply say, we want X percentage of the students have scholarships, right? But if there's a goal to increase the total number of students, guess what? There's implied in that more facilities, which requires more fundraising. So always when you raise money for one thing, and you're doing this, you ask people for money in one thing, sometimes that takes away from the money you're asking in another area. Go ahead.
I would say one of her unintended impacts would be operational cost.
Yeah.
So when you focus on, I'm in a nonprofit, my whole nonprofit
Yeah,
brain went off with you.
Yeah.
But so for our strategic plan, let's say we give away everything after operational cost to grants and scholarships. A lot of times for us, people apply and we give our scholarships based on our granting based on their need outside of operational cost. So for you, if you set aside your operational cost and look at what it takes for your students or X amount of students to have scholarships, it kind of helps you define your goal a little bit better. So when people come from granting to Close Less Travel, we have our operational costs, but we have projects and different things that we want to pour into the community that's outside of that, and that's what we go towards with granting. Because one, we don't ever want to feel like if we don't give you a grant, your organization is at jeopardy of not being able to sustain or maintain. So when you're defining what your need is outside of operational costs, it's a whole lot easier to say, well, for scholarships, we want 20% or 30% of our students to be able to come on scholarship or to increase the amount of students, increase our enrollment based on the fact that we've divvied up what operational cost is, meaning paying your teachers and the rents and all that, and then what it costs for an actual student to be a part of our organization. Sometimes that's an easier sale.
Yeah, I
Like
mean, we are
mentally.
trying to, yeah.
Right, mentally you can say, oh, it takes, I don't know, $15K a year for a said student. But if we can alleviate $5K of that by fundraising or partnerships, then for that parent, it's a whole lot more doable. And for you, the goal is a little bit more clear, because you don't want a child to not be able to come for financial reasons. And so that having that percentage of how many students we can take in on scholarship and not have a child feel like, oh, I can't go, or a parent feel like, oh, it's just
Yeah.
not doable for me based on that, that financial hardship. And even for us, it's really hard. Personally, I'm not over scholarships, because we probably be flat broke. Because whenever somebody comes in with a story, I'm like, oh, give them all the money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so for me, it's more so of what's, for the deciding team, it's how clearly they defined what they needed. And it wasn't no gray area, and I wasn't questioning if they knew what that goal or strategic goal was. It was just definitely based on them saying, I need X amount of dollars for this, so that this child is not fed, or this parent could run away from, we support so many causes, and
Yeah.
it's just all about how you define in that moment what you need. And the money will come,
okay.
even for the for-profits. Once you really hone in on, like she said, she wants visibility, she wants to increase her clients, then the international thing, let it be organic. Because once you build up your notoriety and get those partnerships, everything else kind of flows to you. So,
That might be the next 5-year plan, for example. Okay. Good? All right. All right. I'll pick on you now.
I know, I've got everybody else's stuff together, and I'm over here struggling. The hardest thing I've ever done was try to put all this together for me. So I definitely put to acquire a space that would allow me to provide affordable services to food entrepreneurs in Fayette County to grow, to start, grow, and thrive. And I know it's something I have to achieve.
Yeah.
It addresses the what initially needed for my mission. I know I keep reverting back to it because mentally I just visualize an incubator space. How will it be measured when I sign a lease? Or buy a building or whatever it is that I can visually see, but I also put acquiring a building, clients, and generating revenue. Those will all be measurable, how I measure whether or not I accomplish that goal.
It's really the use, because the space is not worth anything if it's not
Yeah,
used.
just the use
So
of,
just
use
how,
of the space.
so essentially you're measuring the use of the space.
It says, does the statement above capture the necessary metrics? If not, what words should be added? I didn't have affordable or local. So that's,
Local's important, right?
Local
Because
is
of the
important.
requirements.
yeah, local.
The space in Fulton County is not going to help with Fayette County.
No, or, any other county, surrounding counties. It said, what are the potential unintended impacts of this goal? I'm not sure. I guess not focusing on clients and more on, little space or task, and not necessarily making my clientele the priority would definitely be an unintended impact, because like you say, it looks like the building is empty. So just having to keep in mind that I'm doing this for a certain group of people and not just get the building.
Yeah, you're taking on a high overhead cost initially,
I know.
because you may not own the building, you may be leasing it, but there's the cost up front for converting the building to the use that you have for it. So you've kind of, you have from the very beginning incurred an overhead cost.
Yeah.
And so now you have to use the space to be able to get that back, right, to be able to do that. So affordable, it works in both ways. You want to find an affordable space so you can make it affordable to your customers.
Yep.
I mean, you could go in and build, wow, I mean, like the best commissary kitchen that was ever done. Looked like the UGA over in
Right,
Griffin,
absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
But do you need to do that?
Absolutely.
Which is always the question of, better is the enemy of the good.
Yeah.
You ever heard that?
Yeah.
Right.
All the time.
Better is the enemy of the good.
Yeah.
Happens all the time.
Absolutely.
And so affordable
Is the key word for me.
for you, for the space as well. Because it has to be affordable for you, for you to make it affordable to them.
Yeah.
So it works both ways. That's a word that goes in both directions. Okay, good. I'm gonna pick on you then.
My goal is very clear, I've been working on this for a while, is to take email, to convert my email into revenue by at least 20 sales a month.
20 sales.
Through email, for my
Okay.
email campaigns.
Okay. So is an email campaign a strategy or a goal?
This, no, well, my conversions is a goal, I want my conversions, I want the emails to convert.
What do you want? Okay.
I mean, I do use the email to convert, but.
Is email the only way you get customers?
No, it's not, but this is what I honed in on.
Okay, you've honed in on it, right.
Yes.
To me, it sounds more like strategy.
Okay.
The second part of that sentence, I think, is the goal.
The 20,
You want to make 20 sales?
Correct.
Is it 20 sales, 20%?
20
revenue?
sales.
20 sales.
Just right now, just 20 sales.
20
Small
sales
bites.
per, again,
Per email campaign. So-
per email.
So that
campaign.
would be 1 week.
Okay, all right, let's back off. So, you want to achieve a certain number of sales per week.
Correct.
That's the goal.
Okay,
The strategies would be how you do that.
okay,
Mhm.
okay,
That's good.
okay.
Because if you say, if the goal is email, are there other ways of doing it,
Got it.
right?
Okay.
So you want to be able to say, I want to make 20 sales, that's my goal. I want to get to 20 sales per week.
Okay,
I can do that email, I can do it knocking on doors, of course not recommended nowadays, but there's lots of different ways you can do it. You could set up a pop-up, you could go to the night market. You could- there's
Shopify.
all kinds of different
I'm on
ways.
Shopify.
Yeah,
this is.
all
So
kinds of
these-
different ways you can get to those 20 sales.
Okay,
So don't
Got
limit
it.
yourself in the goal,
okay,
right?
okay.
And that's an
Got it.
achieve.
That is a achieve.
How does it fulfill the vision statement?
It continues to help my business provide services to support people with their quality of life.
Okay, so if you want to make 20 sales per week, is that, okay, let me add another, is that new customers, existing customers, or you don't care?
I don't care.
You don't
New-
care?
New or existing, who's ever on my email list.
To-
Yes.
So to improve the health of the people in your community, do
Continue
you
to
want to
provide.
achieve
Yeah.
20 sales per week?
Mhm.
That's your goal.
That's my goal.
That's your goal, okay. The metric is, it's easy, right?
Right, the 20
20
sales
sales.
a week, yeah,
20 sales per week.
okay.
Okay. That's the only metric? Sounds like it.
Well, on how I can measure it?
Yeah.
I can measure it by the open rate, by the click rate, by the sale. I also started measuring by the times that the emails are sent and the days of the week they're sent out. So
Okay.
those have all helped, because I struggled. I started out at 0 and I made a plan. And so now it's working. So now I'm getting the clicks, now I'm getting the opens. Now I need to get the sales.
Okay.
So this is the point I'm at after my little program I made for myself.
Okay. So let me ask a question. When you have a sales measure, sales goal.
Mhm.
A lot of companies sometimes, they will find that there's lots of different ways to increase sales. You can reduce costs.
Mhm.
Hey, 50% off, sales go up, but did your profits go up? So let's think about the unintended consequences. You could achieve those sales
Mhm.
and not make a profit. Think about it. You haven't said anything about that,
Because I haven't made a profit.
but you want to make a profit.
But I want to make a profit, but I want, one thing with, like, you were talking about the 50% or whatever, that's not my clientele, and that's why my
Yeah.
stuff remains zero. So I had to go back to this.
Right.
And when I started doing actually what this states, then all of those things started to happen, but I still don't have the conversions. So, I mean, I'm still considered more of a startup business.
Right.
So the, you know,
Yeah, but I think that to fully flesh out your goal, you want to make 20 sales a week and you want to make profit.
yes,
Now, one way of doing it is that you want to achieve 20 sales per week, maintaining a 15%, 30%, whatever it is, profit, gross profit margin.
mhm,
Because what you're saying then, you're saying, I want to avoid losing money.
yes.
Right.
Yeah,
Selling 20 a week, you can do that for the next 5 years and lose money every week.
yeah.
You want to make 20 a week and make profit
Yes.
doing it.
Yes.
So I think to expand your goal, you'd want to put another piece of it, like we did in the examples, right?
Right.
Want to make 20 sales a week
Mhm.
while maintaining a whatever percent, 15, 20, 15 to 20% profit margin, 15% profit margin, gross
Got it.
profit margin. Well, actually, net would be better. Net profit margin.
Yes, okay.
Now you fully describe that goal. You want to
Okay.
increase sales and you want to make money while doing it.
Got it.
And then your measurements become, I had this many sales and what was my net profit margin? All right?
Yeah.
I'll quit picking on you. I picked on you.
So I revised it a little bit to say the goal is to obtain a diversified clientele that would give me exposure and increase sales by 25% each year. And on my vision statement, I changed this to say, at Everbowl, our mission is to build connections by fueling our customers with fresh, clean, and nutrient superfoods that support healthier lifestyles.
So what you just did?
I took out community and put customers, so they both.
She just illustrated a key point. As you go through this process, you can go back. It's not over till it's over, right? As you go through this process, you might say, okay, my vision statement is not quite what I needed it to be. As I think, you go change it. So she went backwards, changed it, and then flow forward. Okay, we're gonna keep picking, going around.
Me? Okay, my goal is to increase clients by 40% without losing that partnership feel. That will be achieved, and then this goal statement fulfills the vision statement by having business owners grow in confidence in branding. Well, I had wrote down like 3 goals, so that was one of my goals.
Let's stick with one.
So within the vision statement, I guess it will fulfill it by the services I provide to those clients. And then it will be measured by clients, leads, retention, and sales. And then the statement that above does capture the necessary metrics. I said about 40%. Are there any potential unintended impacts? Maybe like capacity with the GPAB right now. Eventually, like within this year, I do want to hire a team.
Yeah.
And then, words should be added to avoid undecided consequences. That's why I added without losing the partnership feel.
Okay. So in your goal, you said you want to increase, is it the number of clients by 40%? Or sales?
Sales.
Sales, so dollars.
Mhm.
So you might, when you say sales, you might put parentheses dollars. Because there's 2 ways to measure sales, right? You can measure them as unit sales or by dollars. So when somebody says, I want to increase sales, that's my first question. Is it dollars or is it number? Because you're selling a product and it has a fixed price,
Oh.
it's kind of, it's the same thing, right? You know, you increase sales, you know, I want to sell 20 a week, when you know it costs X number of dollars per one, it equals each other. But when you're doing services, you're not selling, quote, a product. Yours is billable hours, things like that, right? It needs to be dollars. Okay. Right, Nini, did you do anything?
Yes, I did. So the goal I wrote for my business is to design adaptable and effective marketing plans for small businesses that satisfy customers' expectations. Yep. It's not clear.
Okay, so you, say it again, you want to devise effective marketing plans.
Adaptable and effective marketing plan.
Okay. That kind of harkens back to your vision and mission statement, but is it a goal? In other words, how would I measure that goal? What would
Depend
constitute-
on the success my customer have.
Okay, all right. Okay, do you want this for one customer, 10 customers, 50
For
customers?
All customers.
Okay, but again, that's amorphous. That's more up in your vision and mission statement. That's not a goal for the company. If I was somebody funding you, I would say, I want to, well, how many clients are you talking about? Are you talking about 10 annually, 50 annually? In other words, there has to be some measurement in there, because you have to have a quantitative measurement. There's qualitative measurements and quantitative measurements. People love the quantitative measurements. Dollars in sales, number of unit sales. How many people are coming to the commissary and using it. It could be number of hours used per week, for example, things like that. So you want to have, we're going to develop marketing plans for customers, right? But how do we measure that? You measure it by sales. Like, I want to achieve this many sales for this many customers, these many dollars. So think about how you
Sales
would
in
measure.
dollars. Sales in dollars.
Yeah.
Like increase their sales
Yeah,
in 20%.
yeah. And in startups, one thing you need to do is, sometimes it's good to say, hey, I want to achieve this much revenue in year one, or by year three, by year, or year five. Let's pick on year five. By year five, I want to achieve this much revenue. It's okay to say that. Because then your plan becomes, okay, year one, what am I going to, what are the milestones? If I say, I want to be to $200,000 annual income, pick a look, by year five. So how do I do that in year one? $200,000 annually, but I'm not going to go 0 to 200. So year one, here's the things I'm going to do to get me halfway to my goal. Year two, here's the things that are going to get me to the next goal. So it's okay in a startup, and in fact, people will want you to say this. I want to achieve revenue numbers like this, and it's okay to say that. In fact, you should. You should say, I need to make this much revenue. And then some of your strategies can be, how do I do that in a stepwise way of doing it? So it's okay to do that in scholarships as well, and fundraising. Hey, by year five, we need to be raising this much. If you're an established business and you know what your revenues are, you can say, hey, I want to increase sales by 20%. I want to increase sales by this. But when you're 0, increasing sales by 20% is still 0. It's that math thing, right? Nothing from nothing leaves nothing. Maybe that's not way back. All right. So think about your true goals, where you're at in your company, and it's okay to say, one of my goals is this, and then your strategies address that. Okay. Questions before we move on, because we're running out of time. All right. Well, we're going to keep going here, but we're going to give everybody a chance at a very quick break. All right. Quick break. We'll dig in for the last 30, 35 minutes. We might run over just a little bit. I'll let I'll let you guys tell me whether you're ready to go.
Okay.
All right, so
I'm trying to
now we're
target
gonna,
some of those folks this year.
we're gonna move into strategy development.
Yeah, do that. I've got a couple cards I can give you.
All right, you notice we're spending less time as we step through, because I wanted to get the first parts.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
because a lot of this,
Feels easier.
because if you remember the chart here, you start out with one box, then a few boxes, then more boxes, then lots of boxes. Right? There's no way we're gonna do the lots of boxes in 3 hours. But I'm giving you the framework. So strategies. That's how you're gonna accomplish the goals. If you say, I want to, I'll pick on somebody, okay. I want to make 20 sales a week with a profit margin, net margin of so-and-so. There are strategies that you can come up with to do that. You've already said one, your email. You have an email strategy. Are there other ways, complementary ways, to be able to achieve that goal? That's the plays we're going to call. It's 3rd down and 8.
Oh, well,
Playbook,
that's not
we're
good.
gonna call this, right?
Got it.
Fills the gap between the ends, the goals, and the means, the tactics. This is the stuff up there. Provides general guidance for specific actions in pursuit of particular ends, the playbook. So, this is in your booklet, but think about it. What's the difference between strategies and tactics? People always mess that up. People mess it up between goals, and remember, I was picking on some of you about goals versus strategies, right? The goals is what you want to obtain, strategies how you do it, right, at a high level. Strategies, they're grand, they're overarching, they're multi-year. Tactics are limited, usually 1 year, maybe less, right? Broad and general, narrowly focused. General and ongoing strategies, they're good over a period of time. The tactics are very situational. 3rd and 8, I'm going to call this quarterback sneak. Oops, it don't work. Or whatever, right? Degree of flexibility. Your strategies are adaptable, but you don't change them week to week. You review them, you look at them quarterly, and you have to do, from time to time, adjust them. COVID. Whoops, I got to change my strategies because the world changed, right? Your tactics, fluid, quick to adapt. Okay, that tactic didn't work. I want to try a different tactic. My email's not getting me to 20 sales a week. I need to adopt a different tactic, right? Or, well, I'm back up. The way I'm doing my email would be a
Yes,
tactic.
would
I'm
be a
doing it
tactic.
through, SurveyMonkey or one of the other, things and stuff like that. Timing. Strategies are before action. You've made it up before you start engaging with the customer. During action. Again, the playbook, and the football, and the resource spokesman. Resources strategies is deployment. You thought about it ahead of time, you've invested. Tactics, it's employment. You're doing it. You're spending the money right there. You're doing this thing. And you see here the football analogy, which I use. So there's 3 kinds of strategy, and they get mixed up and all that stuff, and it's okay, but people refer to this. One is general strategy. Courses of action within the company to accomplish goals. They're broad, they're things you want to do. A strategy says, hey, one of the strategies is, hey, I'm going to increase my workforce to be able to handle more customers and be able to do these things over a period of time. That's a grand strategy, increase that workforce. Corporate strategy addresses the choices and commitments to particular business areas, markets, products, services provided by the company. So that's in your channels, in your product channels. Here comes Tamika again. I like Tamika. What she's doing is great. We need it in this game. Your goal with the space, right? There's lots of different strategies on how to do the space. You can build the space. You could rent the space. You could partner with another organization to do that. With all kinds of different ways to get to the space. In other words, corporate strategy. How do you do that? There's a thing in corporate, every decision you make in business is a make, team, buy decision. Do I make it internally? Do I buy it from somebody else? Or do I team or partner with someone? You should only make those things that are core to your business. If they're not core to your business, you buy it or team with someone else. People forget that. They try to get too vertically integrated. And be able to do that side by side. Corporate strategy is about you're offering, your 20 sales of those things. You may expand into another product area. That's a corporate strategy now. I'm going to put this product and also this product. I have a saying that in business says, I want to, you remember that saying that says, somebody's going to eat your lunch, right? In business, right? I always say, I want to eat my lunch before somebody else does. Which just means if I have a product and I think somebody's going to develop another product to supersede mine, guess what? I'm going to develop it first. And I'm going to supersede my own product. Look at Apple. How many people have Apple phones? Okay. How many people have an Apple 17? Yeah. There she is. Apple has the greatest marketing and strategy ever. People line up.
Only because it broke, by the way.
Okay, people line up for that next version of the iPhone. They're eating their own lunch before their competitors do. That's a corporate strategy of theirs. They're going to keep innovating. They're going to supersede their own product. They're not going to let somebody else do it. That's a corporate strategy at Apple, along with their other products. Corporate strategy. Competitive strategy, Align, focuses on competitors and the basis of competition, including cost, differentiation, and focus. Let's say somebody else builds a kitchen. Now we have two. You're going to have to be thinking about competitive strategy. How do I make my kitchen the one everybody wants to go to? How do I make my school the one everybody goes to? How do I make my marketing firm the one that people have come to? What strategies am I going to have to differentiate myself? Is it cost? Is it I do fantastic services? Look at Chick-fil-A. This is a great example.
Yes.
Is Chick-fil-A cheaper than McDonald's?
No,
No,
absolutely not.
we all know that.
Well, how come the line around the Chick-fil-A up here is 4 times longer than the McDonald's?
Their service.
My pleasure.
My pleasure.
They have identified service as a differentiator,
Service.
not cost. Service. Now, they'll also say their food's better, but sometimes people like it or don't like it. But most people, if you survey, it's their service. It's their service. That is a corporate strategy,
Absolutely.
right? Okay. We talk about the attributes. This is kind of a word slide, but it resolves major issues. Talks about hey, do we develop a new product or process or a way of delivering our service? Is there a better way to deliver my service to my customers? Or more customers? Or mergers, collaborations? Sometimes, hey, you got to merge with another company. You're having problems, they're having problems, you merge together, you build a stronger company. Happens all the time. Focus on structural changes you need within your organization. Sometimes the strategy is, hey, I need to add more people. I need to beef up my marketing division. And you can be, part of that. Brainstorming. Oh, well, I have a question. How do we position ourselves in the future? If the future changes and it is not what we expected, I'll say the word again, COVID, or any other environmental thing that's outside of your control. If the world changes around you, how do you deal with it? You need to have strategies in place. But you're not sitting there going, oh, because a lot of people did in 2020. A lot of people did. Is this really, brainstorming, we've all played them, is this really a strategic activity? That's a good question. Is this really strategy or is it tactics? You have to deal with that. How will leverage change in your organization? Reconsider strategies that have worked or haven't in the past, right? You don't stick with a strategy. If it's not working, maybe it's a bad strategy. We'll talk about that in a minute. Recognize the potential conflict with each other. Implementing one strategy will directly impair implementation of another. You always have to look at your strategies holistically. So let me bring this one up. Ask her the following questions. What goal or goals does the strategy address? I've done this in big corporations like Lockheed Martin and others. If you have a strategy, my first question is, what goal does it address? How are you addressing the company goals? If you can't do that, is this something we should be doing? Or is it a missed goal? Two questions. But usually, it's people would come and say, I need money to do this. And I'd say, how does it address the company goal? They couldn't tell me. I'd say, go away. Come back when you've answered that question. That's very important. Will the strategy help meet the state goals? You know, you say, what goal? How do you meet it? What are the assumptions? Or the what must be true for this strategy to be successful? No COVID, no, but people, I have supply chain issues. There's things, everything there. There's always assumptions in this. My supply chain, things like that. Conflicts. The final strategy should be a clear statement of intended direction and actions, because again, this is going to guide your annual activities. So I love this picture. This young man. He has a strategy. Or is it doomed to failure? Certainly has ambition. Okay. That's another good picture that gets the point across. Now, strategy assessment. I've talked about this. Looking at your strategic plan quarterly. Not so much that your vision and your mission will change. Maybe your goals won't change, but your strategies may change when the environment around you changes. So you need to assess that. And the finger pointing, that happens in organizations big and small. Hey, your group, the sales team's not doing their job. Well, you hear that a lot, right? The sales team is not going out and getting people. Sales team turns out, well, you got a crappy product, talking to the engineers, right? I'm an engineer, I heard that. But you have to get away from the finger pointing, because you're all in the same boat. When the Titanic hit the iceberg, finger pointing didn't save anybody. Right? You're all in it together, the ship sinks. No matter what part of the company you're in. So you got to avoid that. Failure is a combination of events across several areas that would require you to take action and revise your strategies. And you must examine both the strategy and the execution of that strategy. So, hey, it's another quadrant box. Steve loves quadrant boxes. So let's talk about this. You have execution, flawed and sound. You have the strategy, flawed and sound. Well, if you have a sound strategy, you have a sound execution of it, then you got a pretty good chance you're going to be successful, right? Sometimes you have a flawed strategy, but you have some great execution going on, and it'll salvage that bad strategy. Sometimes. But you're flirting with disaster. Right? Sometimes you have a sound strategy, you just didn't execute very well on it. That's a box job. How many people have seen that? Right? Right. Sound strategy, we just didn't execute on that one. And the worst of all, of course, you have a bad strategy and then you screw it up even worse in your execution. Avoid. Avoid, that's what I read. Avoid, doomed from the beginning. You're not going to be successful. And that's why on at least a quarterly basis, you need to be looking at your strategies and how you're doing with them. Sometimes the world changes and takes something that was up in the green and moves it. Because you can't now execute and do those things. So, another picture I love. They're putting the power lines in this subdivision. Had a strategy for that. Hey, we have to put the poles, we're going to put the poles evenly spaced in this subdivision and all that stuff. And boy, the strategy says this pole must be there. I'm sure the homeowner didn't care much of that. I'd say that was flawed execution. Could you have moved that pole 10, 15 feet either way?
Is that an AI? It has to be.
That is not an AI. That is absolutely not an AI. Because this is from 20 years ago. That is not an AI. That's the bad part. All these pictures I show you are not AI. They're real pictures.
Wow, that is great.
Yeah, because you can see the dirt around the pole where they plump, they
The homeowner
plumped
was
it
not
in.
home when they did
Oh,
that, and
no,
came home from
no.
work.
But you see why I used the picture. That is a great example of flawed execution, right? Running out of time. So what we're going to do, we're not going to do this, but you have the sheets. I just want to talk through the sheets so you know how to use it. So let me bring it up on the screen. Well, you have it in front of you. So you have this in front of you. It's in your package. So you start with a brief statement of your strategy. Remember, strategies are broad, they're long-term, they're brand. And then immediately, the first question that you ask when you create a strategy is, okay, what goal are you addressing? You can't write that down, you can't identify that. You got your first problem, right? Strategies must tie back to goals. And they tie back to more than one goal. You'll be able to do that. And you write down why this strategy helps achieve that goal. You need to be definite about that. I want to sell 20 of my product per week while making a profit. Yeah. So you have a strategy for that. I'm going to use my email campaign. I'm going to do conversions of these clients. I need to convert it. So you can do this thing. I need to reach X number of people. If I have a 20% conversion rate, blah, 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 I will make that. That addresses your goal, why this helps achieve the goal. Because you have a realistic conversion rate. If somebody brought me their strategy and says, oh, I'm going to email to 20 people, I'm going to get 20 sales. You're smiling because you know that's right. I mean, you immediately smile. Yeah, I know that's not real. So you have to say, okay, I'm going to have to market to 1,000 people, 100 people, whatever it is, because I can have a conversion rate, the funnel that's come through there. So that's the strategy. The strategy, I have to do this. The tactic would then be, how am I going to get those emails out to everybody? It may change over those 5 years. You may use this platform initially, or you might use multiple platforms for sending out emails. I'm picking on yours. Assumptions. What things must be true to make this strategy viable? Especially if you have product. You may have to say, look, I have access to the ingredients. Supply chain. I'll say the word COVID again. Supply chain broke down. People did not have access to the core resources they needed to make products. If they couldn't make products, they couldn't sell products. So their assumption was just in time. Everybody heard that term before, just in time manufacturing. Now it's in grocery stores and everywhere else. You want the stuff arriving just when you need it. But what does that mean? If there's any disruption in your supply chain, now you don't have it. You have to, people learn through that, hey, I need to have multiple sources. I have one that's overseas and one domestic. And what I kept telling companies at the time was that you should always have had that minimum of 2 suppliers for every major component that you need for your process. This is more for people that have products and stuff like that. Because, and then it doesn't mean you have to buy equally from them. You play them off against each other this year. One year you might, hey, this guy's giving you a better deal. So you buy 60% or 70%, but you buy some from the other. You preserve the relationship with them. So then when the manufacturer in Hong Kong can't send it to you anymore, the guy in Little Rock, Arkansas can. Yeah, your prices are going to go up. You're going to have to charge your customer more. But what's better, charging the customer a little more or having no product whatsoever to serve to your customer? But other key information supporting the strategy. Who, what, when, where, how. Notice why is not in there, because you answered the why above. So again, for that strategy, if I'm marketing, you have a strategy marketing. Okay, who's going to help me? What are the people involved? Is it just you? Are there other people involved in this? You know, how are you going to do this? What platforms do you need to use? Write down all the things that you're going to need to be able to enact that strategy. It may be money, it may be access to software, it may be people, resources, but write that down. The when is always an interesting one. If you have a product or a service that's seasonal, schools are seasonal, they're off during the summer. So when becomes a factor, because you start in August, you end in May, usually. Yeah. So there's a when factor in there. So there are certain things you want to do. You may have strategies that address the time, like you may say, hey, we want to have a lot of summer classes. Increase enrollment by having a bunch of summer camps and summer classes. That's a win. You're doing it in the summer. Make sure to mark that down. And does this conflict with other strategies? As you that's the last time you fill this out for your major strategies, then go back and talk about conflicts, potential conflicts with your strategies. Okay. So, since we're running out of time, I want to address tactics a little bit. Well, before we get to that, you heard me say this at the beginning, and I'll reiterate it again. A strategic plan that sits on the shelf and is never referred to again is not effective. It's simply not effective. Why did you spend all that time putting the plan in place? You must refer to it. You must distribute it. Now, if you're in a bigger organization, for you, what I call solopreneurs, of course, it's easy. You know it. It's actually almost harder because solopreneurs tend to put it on the shelf and forget about it.
Multiple.
Yeah, you're busy because you're the solopreneur. Guess what? You are the CEO, COO, CFO, the janitor, and everything else, right?
Everything.
Yeah. So you've been there. But when you have a company, you distribute the full document to your management. It's important for your key leaders to all be knowledgeable and bought in on your strategic plan because it's a group activity. You do a summary document to the rest of the workforce. Usually you kind of stop maybe at goals and strategies. You don't get into the tactics maybe. But you create a smaller document for them. Because again, they're not the folks driving the boat. Your management is. But you want the workforce to know specifically what your goals are. You want them to know this is the goals of our company. And of course, if your workforce knows your goals, you better have something in there about your workforce. I mean, in companies I've worked with, we'll get to the kind of the end of the goals day, and I'll say, you didn't say anything about your workforce. You don't have a goal pertaining to your workforce, about training your workforce, about compensating your workforce. You better say something about your workforce, because that's one of your key things. So I'd have companies go in and say, hey, we have a goal that every person in this company will get some sort of training every year. You put a goal in there about their training, their growth, their compensation. It can be something as easy, compensation can be something as easy as, we will maintain compensation commensurate with other companies, in our industry. And then the tactic that comes under that strategy then is, hey, we do an annual survey. Our companies I've been, we do an annual salary survey of other companies that do the same thing we do. And we go, okay, everybody else, well, they're paying this classification this, we're only paying them this. And guess what? They're going to come poach our people. So we better move them on. So
How do you do an annual salary survey?
oh, it's pretty easy. The easiest way to do it is to go through Indeed, Monster,
Glassdoor.
Yeah, you can go through those things and you can look up by classifications. I did it for my engineering teams. I'd say, okay, what the going rate for an engineer at this level is this right now. Oops. And I would update my labor rates. I actually would have my classifications. I'd have columns for Monster, Indeed, and I would go through and find what the averages were, put them in the spreadsheet, and then compare our rates to them. And it was great because then when I did work with the government, you always have to justify your labor rates with the government. I could take that spreadsheet and I could show the government, look, I've done the math here. We've gone out and done used these resources, and here's what I pay people, here's the industry standard, and I am in
compliance.
the range. But even if you're not doing government, it's just good to know. Because you're hiring people, you know, you need to know what's the going rate. You might not like it, but when you're good people, hey, there you go. So inform and educate the workforce. That means the first time, but then you bring it up, at least annually. You bring this up, hey, we remind everybody, here's where we're at. And the great thing about that is that you can give your management, particularly, and your workforce, say, here are our goals. Here's how we're doing on the goals. Hey, great job, sales. We're up to 20. We're hitting 20, and we're going to revise our goal, and it's now going to be 30, right? But you let people know how you're doing, right? So, there we go. Now, tactics, this strategic plan becomes the blueprint for what you do on an annual basis. Everybody should do an operational plan at least annually, I suggest, because whatever your fiscal year, your tax year is that you use, you should do it around that. Use it as that focus. And the tactics are documented in the annual operating plan, which lays out, here's the things I'm going to do during the year. Not the daily stuff, but you know, the bigger stuff, the tactics. Remember the chart we had with the boxes. You can have a lot of tactics that address each strategy. So you're writing out, this year, we're going to do this to address these strategies and be able to do that. And you have to ask, what will this activity accomplish in terms of making me achieve my strategy, to be able to do that? Does it help us achieve our goals? Remember, it always goes back to goals. If it doesn't help you achieve your goals, why are you doing that? Remember I said squirrel? All right. Shiny bright objects can move you away from achieving your goals. Do we really need this activity? Is this a missing strategy that we should address? Good question. We really feel like we should be doing this, but we don't have a strategy that points to it. Maybe we missed one. Maybe it's a new strategy that's emerged. It's okay. Go back and revise. Go back to that. The other thing is that people sometimes feel like, let's say you have 5 strategies. I'll see people that say, we got to do something on every strategy this year. No, you don't. It's a 5-year plan. You only have so many resources, right? This year, we're going to focus on strategies 1 and 2 and 3. In year 3, we shift to focusing more on strategies 4 and 5. It's okay to do that. Now, if you reach the end of the 5-year period for your strategic plan and you haven't addressed a strategy, the question is, why not? Remember, you don't have to do everything at one time. You can sequence how you address your strategy, and your annual operating plan reflects that. So this is a trap I see a lot of folks, and they got them, feel like every year I got to be doing something toward this. Well, you can, but you don't necessarily have to. But think of it long term, right? Because you only have so much time and resources, especially when you're the solopreneur, right? So one of the things I've used before, and it's in the packet as well, I just make a simple spreadsheet. So it works with my forms. I put all these things in a book, and then I do this. So let's say I have a strategy. Establish a strong company brand through focused marketing activities to support business development efforts. That's actually a real strategy from a company I did this for. The tactic. Deploy and maintain an effective website with dynamic content. And then I had specific tasks underneath that. Review website update, capability staff profiles, tie practice areas to success stories, add staff blogs bi-weekly and monthly. B, use social media to build and support company brand. Use it to amplify the website blogs. Investigate targeted electronic marketing. Investigate targeted videos. This is an actual real one from a company. C, join in and participate in selected professional and trade groups. You notice we had group 1, group 2, because we didn't get to that. at that time. Well, we did group 1 and group 2, we had a couple of them. We did that. So this was a tactic strategy. I listed some tactics. It can be 3 tactics, it can be 5 tactics. Write them down. And then over in the tasks, put the high-level tasks. And the great thing is, you can go in there and check these puppies off as you do them. Every quarter, you look at it. I did that. Oops, I didn't do that. Okay, I need to get on, I need to do that one next quarter. And you can change them as well. Remember, this is a living document. The amount of, the top changes very little, and as you move down to the bottom, it changes a lot here. But that is just a neat way of doing it. You can refer to it and check things off and be able to do that. Any questions on that? Clear as mud?
This is so good. It's a lot.
All right, well, that's it. We are at 12:05. I will be emailing out to everybody the slides.
Okay.
I was gonna ask that.
We're going to edit the video and probably put it up on YouTube. Now, a lot of your comments will be edited out. Because, somebody said something about something. We'll make sure we don't put things like that in. But it'll be mostly the class stuff and what we're talking about. And when we do that, I'll make sure you know about that as well. And going forward, please, if you have any questions about using this, reach out to me. I want you to go and do this and be successful at it, and I know questions will come up, right? So reach out and do this, and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.